Welcome to Behind the Badge with your special guest, Lieutenant Williams, your news source for all things police in the city of Fond du Lac.
Today continues. It's a Friday. That means Behind the Badge with Lieutenant Ryan Williams of the Fond du Lac Police Department. Another busy week for you?
Super busy, yeah. I like to say nothing's changed because I'm always busy. But we've got a hiring process that we're right in the middle of. We got assessment center for that on Saturday and Sunday. We've got our kid from the academy. He's gonna be graduating, so we'll have him on here soon. Unbeknownst to him, we like to get him on here and embarrass him by talking on the radio. And we need a bunch of CSOs, so we're gonna have a CSO hiring process and get them onboarded. We're also in the middle of an in-service as well for out at the range and stuff. So lots going on.
And what about the construction project? How's that going?
It's going really good. I know I talked about in this radio show that we had accreditation. So I think while that was going on, I think they kind of stopped or maybe did some more internal stuff. But they have the lockers in the new girls' locker room, and oh my God, these lockers are ginormous. Like I could hide in them, and I'm not a small guy. So it's really, really cool. Once they get the floor in and all that stuff, like when that locker room is done, it's gonna be a sight to see. And you know me, I'm a video guy. There's already been some talk that we might do like an MTV Cribs type style thing once the PD is all done.
Love
and
it.
kind of show off our new territory there.
That'll be cool. Looking forward to it. But today we're talking about something you used to be, School Resource Officer, SRO.
Yes, loved it. I love that job, school resource officer. The only reason I kind of left is it is a limited term gig, and I would have had to come back to patrol at some point, and I kind of got drawn to the job I currently have because I have a passion for training, obviously, as we talk here. But so being a school resource officer, a lot of people think kind of like, what do they do on the daily, and the answer is a lot. And number one, and I think people think of us as an intimidating force there, but really it's about prevention. Like we're not there trying to get kids into the legal system. We're there to try to avoid them getting into the legal system. And the reason why we need to be there instead of just having like a teacher or whatever, because we have more resources and things that we can do to help them avoid being in the legal system. The other nice thing is the juvenile justice system allows for kids to right themselves, the right to ship, but it does have consequences. And that's the other thing that school resource officers can is they have a different set of consequences that they can give to kids. So if you have a kid that's over 12 years old, they could actually receive a citation, right? But we do have something called teen court, where instead of paying a citation, they do community service and they actually serve on teen court and kind of work off the ticket. And that is really good for parents to know about, because does the kid really pay the ticket? Probably not, right? It's the parents. So for a small fee, they plead guilty to it, and then they get sentenced by a jury of their peers, and a lot of it's community service time, and some of it's serving on future juries. And what's cool about that is I had kids that went to teen court, and they loved it, and they actually volunteered their time even when they didn't have to because they liked it so much. So that's a resource. We also have a municipal court judge who is very good, and when I did, and it's not like we're writing like 10 citations or not even one citation a day, probably on average, like here and there. We give the kids all the benefit of the doubt. I try to always inform the parents about what's going on if you had a chance, if you knew the behavior was heading that way. We try not to surprise anybody. But so let's say your kid, there's a statute that we use. It's called loitering, but it's basically part of the loitering statute is that your child needs to be in class. And that's not to say that every time your child's out of class, they're going to get a loitering citation. But when it happens often enough where we've tried everything else, it gives us something to do. It gives us another way to hopefully just get your child to stay in class. And it's kind of comes before the truancy and all that other stuff. So if they're walking around school and they're not in class, they don't have a pass and all that, we can do a loitering citation. Now that doesn't mean that's the end of the road. They could do the teen court, but I say to them too, if they don't do the teen court, I tell them this. I say, listen, we're gonna have court in a month on this. let's see what your behavior does in a month. And I can go in front of the judge and I can say, hey, judge, it's been amazing. Little Johnny has improved. He's been in class every single day. I would move that we either reduce this fine or eliminate this fine. And usually the judge, after seeing that the behavior has been modified, because that's the ultimate goal, they will reduce the fine. So it gives us kind of bargaining chips with the kids, and gives them a reason to kind of work off or for good behavior. Now, I recently so there's a lot of different things you can do, and if we even talk about when kids are on like probation, they do something that's a little bit higher than like a citation or something like that, so something criminal. That juvenile justice 2 system you can work with, and we as SROs, we kind of work with them hand in hand on those cases as well. So it's nice. It's good to have a good working relationship with your principal staff, your assistant principal, and it's really about prevention, and it's also about being able to be that friendly face, a go-to person for kids. We do not want kids afraid of officers, and some people in this day and age might argue with me on that, but there could be a time, there could be some traumatic event that happens, and we are there to help. Like if there was a mass casualty event, an active shooter, if there was a hostage situation, even if there was like a tornado or some sort of weather event where we would need to be rescuing kids, we can't have kids afraid of us, right? Like we want to be approachable to kids, because there might be a time where they need to come to us so we can get them out of trouble, and that barrier starts to break down at the school resource officer level. And if you ask most people what officer they know and who they know the best, they're going to mention a school resource officer's name. So they're like on the ground floor. They're making these ties, and even like a lot of the new hires that we hire, they say, I want to be a cop because I liked Officer so-and-so, who was my school resource officer. He was awesome. And that's great that you have the ability to inspire kids. And, as a parent, it's like being a parent to, hundreds and hundreds of kids. But some children need that. There's a lot of children that come in unstructured households, and it's not their fault. They just have not been held to certain rules and expectations, and they're definitely all capable of it. And a school resource officer is there to kind of set those expectations, limitations, and give them a kind of parental figure that they can go to. And so it's really rewarding in that aspect. It was cool for me to work with a lot of teachers. They're actually similar to cops in a lot of ways, but then also different as well. So we do have the same mentalities, and the thing is, we're all there for one goal, right? To make kids' lives better. And we have different ways to go about it, but we can usually come to a consensus decision on what is best for the child. As long as we're keeping that in the back of our mind, then we're good to go. We're going to make the right decision for that child. I had it pretty good because I actually, when I was at Sabish, and I had a couple other schools, but that was the school that my kids are going to. And I don't think I'm saying things that people don't know in this city, but Sabish had a bad reputation for a while. It really did. It was known as a rough school, and maybe at some points it did earn that reputation. But I went there with the feeling that I wanted to change it. I said, if my kids are going to school, I want to be the person that fixes the school. And the one thing I kind of learned when I was there was that the school didn't really need fixing, but we did need to be a little more involved in the kids. And this is where the divide is for school resource officers, is basically you have behavioral issues and you have legal issues, right?
Yep.
So some would argue with me that a school resource officer is a cop, and we should not be getting these kids involved in the criminal justice system. You should only be involved in legal issues. My counter argument to that would be, I don't want the kids in the legal system. And if I don't start getting involved in this behavioral system, it's going to become a legal issue. And I don't want that to happen. But it doesn't make sense to not do anything in the forefront and then worry about what happens. So don't worry about the cause, and you're just worrying about the effects. So you're already behind. You're not working ahead of the problem. But if you get involved in the behaviors, and you get involved enough, and you tell them what the consequences are going to be if the behaviors happen. Let's say you know a fight's going to happen, and this happened many times in my Sabres days. I knew about a fight was going to happen. I would sit down, both parties at a table at a talking football, the old talking football game. We would air out our grievances. A lot of times they'd find out that they didn't even want to fight each other. It was just their friends trying to rouse things up.
Sure.
And sometimes we couldn't come to an agreement. But I would say this, okay, so we can't come to an agreement on this. I understand that. This is what's going to happen if the fight happens, because now I know about it. Your parents are going to be informed on it, and if something happens, you're going to get cited. You've been warned. You know what's going to happen. And if they decide to fight after that, that's on them. But at least by me getting in early on the behavior, I was usually able to avoid the legal consequences of them fighting each other, getting sort of conduct tickets and all that stuff. So I think it's important, and it does take the right kind of officer that loves to interact with kids. And what I noticed back when I was a school resource officer, everybody had their own style, right? You know Steve Olson.
Sure.
He's got his style, right? He's great with kids, and he's got the musical background.
Used to sing, yeah.
Yeah, he does that, and I can't sing. But I was a video guy, so I like to do the videos, and that was my way of interacting with kids. I think of Officer Quan Brown over at Woodworth. He does a great job interacting with kids. In fact, I love going over there and just seeing it's like he's got little personal jokes with every single kid when he walks down the hallway. It's like you're walking, when you walk by him in the hallway, it's like you're walking next to the most popular kid in school. And to see that interaction just makes me so proud, of that, because those are all people that are going to have interactions with the police that are positive. And when we talk about some of the serious things we deal with as school resource officers, one of the worst ones we deal with is the sexual assaults of children or child abuse situations. If you break down those barriers at that point, those kids are going to feel comfortable with coming to you with stuff, but that they might not ordinarily feel comfortable with you. And they'll help report things that are happening that they might not report, and we just want that behavior to stop, and it doesn't stop until they come forward. So it's really important in so many ways, and some that I haven't shared. Plus, but school resource officers are kind of the first line of defense. They break down those barriers and they help. And if it was up to me, I think we could use 2 more at the high school because it's such a big place. But I really like, as I'm doing the tours around the schools just lately with the new hires and stuff, that it's a different vibe. It seems a lot more controlled and a better vibe at the schools lately. And that's hard for me to say because I'm not a school resource officer, so I have nothing to do with the current situation. But whatever's going on right now is going to be working. So.
That's great news. I can't remember if it was when I was at Sabish or at the old Goodrich High School. Doc Litchman was the school resource officer that I had.
Yeah, and we have so we have a lot of history. Kelly Noble used to be a principal at Sabish,
Sure,
and we have Lieutenant Noble, his son, is an employee of ours.
Really?
Yeah. So
Yeah, Mr. Noble was at Sabish when I was there.
There's some Sabish legacies. So
That's great. Good stuff. Anything else?
Well, nope. I'll be back next week. But I am trying to get them out on YouTube. So if you guys miss us, you can probably catch us if you guys do record it. But otherwise, check out our YouTube page. We'll have our casts on there.
Excellent. Looking forward to it. Have a great week. We'll catch you next week.
Thank you.